Oh, okay. The echo.
What's up? What is up? What's up? Happy Friday. Happy Friday, everyone. It doesn't feel like Friday to me. I don't know why. I'm not in a Friday head. Maybe it's because I don't sleep anymore because my beautiful child doesn't sleep. You know how that is, parents. I don't know. Maybe it's because I haven't prepared for, Italian Friday, I call it, where I bring out all the Italian food and go buck wild. That's possible. Who knows? Who knows? Well, thank you for being here, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. To those of you who tuned in this week, we had an exciting guest. This past Wednesday, we had Rollo Tomasi on. It did great. The audience seemed to love it. It was an interesting debate. I had a great time. And I do read some of the comments, which has been interesting. A lot of Rollo fans saying, you don't know what you're talking about. And a lot of my fans saying, yeah, put him in his place. So it's always interesting to read those. I don't see them all, but I do love that you're engaged. Even people who pick on me, you are welcome to have a seat at the table. If I can make you think even a little bit, step outside the comfort zone that you're used to thinking in, then I consider it a good day's work. But we had a great time. And one of the things that was brought up that's always interesting to me is when people say, well, you talk about personal experience and you talk about the family a lot. Well, yes, there's a reason for that. First of all, a lot that goes wrong in everything happens at the kitchen table of your home. That's where the problem starts. So, we talk in politics about school systems and about, crime, and you talk about mass shootings, and you talk about all of these big picture issues. And I always say, okay, let's look at where that child came from. Let's look at the type of home. Was there a dad in the home? Was there a mom in the home? These are all really relevant points. And I always say, take it back to that home life. And you oftentimes will see that something can be traced back that didn't go so well. So that's an important point that I will never cease to bring up. And I do think personal experiences matter. I do think that the way you've interacted with people in your life, the experience you've had, the experiences others have had. I've been a dean of a school. I've been a student advisor. I spent a lot of time around young people who are in that dating age. I've taught college at different times in my life. I've, popped in to do a visiting lecturing seminar here. I did a whole bunch of speeches around the country at different universities. So I've been having a lot of these conversations for many years. And I do think the questions and the concerns that people bring up are relevant. So I will always bring that to the table. Of course, stats matter, and of course, all of that matters. But I also think there are cultural differences. I noticed in that conversation with Rollo and I felt like we were talking about a different population, a different dating population, and not just because I come and he comes from a time where people dated a little bit differently. Because he's been married for, I think he said 25 years, if I'm not mistaken. I've been married for some time, haven't been in the dating market for 8 or 9 years. So that's all true. But there's also a big difference between what dating looks like in the club scene in South Beach and what dating looks like in, a small town in Texas. And there's a lot of people in the country that aren't represented if you look through a very small lens of, people out strategizing each other on date one and people assuming that someone's trying to get them with every question. And that's oftentimes not happening in many, many towns, in many, many cities around the country. That's a very kind of blue city mentality, to be perfectly honest with you. And you'll know if you travel anywhere and you go to New York and you talk to people about the dating scene in New York, go to a place like Lubbock, Texas, sit down and have that conversation. And they're going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I was raised to be a gentleman. It's all going to be a lot simpler and a lot different. So I'm trying to pull in all of the energies of all of these places and all of these experiences I've heard from. And yes, the stats to give a complete picture. And my goal, remember, is not just to identify what's broken, but to try to fix it. That's what I want. So it's not like, oh, the system is broken, so you've got to figure out how to operate in a broken system. It's like, no, the system is broken. Okay, let's acknowledge what's broken. Decide not to operate in a broken system by being part of the solution and not part of the problem. So that's where I'm coming at it from. I did appreciate the discussion. I thought it was fantastic. He's welcome to come back whenever he would like. And I want to know from you. Remember, first of all, subscribe if you're here. That's how you support what we're doing here. Don't forget to like this video. I love a graphic. Like it if you like it. If you don't like it anyway. Just saying. And also tell me in the chat. Natalia's here. We're going to intro her in a second. But tell me in the chat who you want to hear from. Do you like the Shoot the Shit segments? Who do you want to see me talk to? It doesn't have to be about dating and relationships. It could be about wellness. It could be about fitness. It could be anything you want it to be. It could be about politics. You tell me what topic and what guests interest you. I want to hear from you. This show is not just for me. It's for all of us. And I did get one person sent a notification. You didn't read my comment. I know. I'm trying to get tech savvy, but for now I'm getting some help. So be patient. Be patient, my friends. We're going to get to it. And Natalia is back. Welcome, Natalia. Natalia did a great job, and she didn't run away, which means that we, and by we, I mean me and the audience, didn't scare the shit out of her. So she's here, and we have some dating and relationships topics here that I would love for Natalia to weigh in. But remember, Natalia's going to be monitoring the chat. So you have any messages for the audience of what they need to be doing?
Not yet, other than give us some good chats, because I know Jed is going to give you the straightforward, great answer. So give us some good chats. Make sure you guys subscribe, and let's get into the good topics, Jed.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. So, let's start with something funny. We're not going to dig into this one too much because sometimes you hit a topic and you're like, what do I even say? But this is the title of the article. This is fantastic. This is from EU USA Today. One date, and now I'm being sued. No joke. Woman sues man for $10,000 for standing her up on a date. Can you imagine you stand somebody up on a date and you get sued for 10 grand? Can you even imagine such a situation? I thought it was a joke. Oftentimes I read these headlines. I'm like, this has to be a joke. Someone's playing a joke on me. No, actually, this is what happened. This is in Michigan. A Michigan woman, Kashante H. Short, filed a lawsuit in 2020, this was, against her date who didn't show. According to the claim, the experience caused her emotional distress because the date fell on her late mother's birthday, so she was traumatized. This is my favorite part, though. This is the only reason I wanted to really touch on this. During the hearing, the judge asked the defendant if he would be representing himself. This is what he says. To be honest with you, sir, I thought this was just going to be thrown out. He told the judge, we had a date, one date. Can you imagine? One date and nothing else after that, and now I'm being sued for 10 grand. I don't think this is going to go any further. Can you imagine, though? I was thinking about it. Now, I was dating before the online dating scene really blew up, and that wouldn't have been for me anyway. That whole scene just doesn't interest me. But I have not been stood up on a date. Natalia, have you ever been stood up on a date?
I actually have been stood up on a date.
You have been stood up on a date? Wait a second. Hold up. Did you show up and you looked around and nobody, how does that play out?
Yeah, I just showed up and I kind of showed up thinking maybe he won't show up. So I was almost prepared to go on the date alone.
Is this somebody you had it was online dating? Or
it was somebody I had met through somebody, and we were it wasn't the best communication either. It was yeah, maybe Friday, and it's okay, yeah, we'll meet 6, and then I wasn't good at confirming the date, and I was I'll just show up just in case, whatever. And I still want to go anyway. And where
were you? Is that a restaurant or something?
No, we went to the movies. So I just watched the movie alone. It was okay. I wasn't
in a
mad
movie
at
theater
it.
waiting for some. I would have been hella mad.
I was the movie started. I gotta go watch this movie.
Wow, was it a good movie at least that you had? So you weren't too upset?
Yeah, it was a good movie. I think it was Spider-Man or something.
Let me, as the elderly person in the room, let me just give you some advice. This is why the texting, not a good idea. You got to pick up that phone. Some reason when you pick up a phone and you talk to somebody, there's more accountability to the whole process.
Yes.
I feel when you're texting, it's oh yeah, even with friends nowadays. You ever notice you make plans, it's all texting, nobody picks up the phone, talk to anybody, and all of a sudden it's oh, something came up, or oh, I can't make it, or oh, blah, blah. It's always an oh. It didn't always go like that back in the day. You picked up the phone. It was hard to pick up the phone and call somebody and change plans, hard to change your minds. I'm telling you, 2022, you're doing people dirty. But did it occur to you when you were stood up to sue that person, that guy, for 10 grand?
Honestly, with how it made me feel, I would feel good if I did that. I read the title and I was I'm not mad at it.
Bottom line, don't stand up, Natalia, because next time around, she has been on Jedediah Bila Live and she knows she can sue your ass for $10,000.
You give me that strength, Jed. You're you got it.
I can't even. And then people say, oh, talk about a litigious society. And I'm always we are a litigious society. It's lawsuit. And people say, oh no, I have a lawyer friend. We are not litigious. $10,000 because somebody didn't show up on a date and you got your feelings. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. All right. All right, we're going to get into some woke politics because my head was spinning. You know how I say my head spins around like The Exorcist every now and then when I read these stories. So there's something interesting. And there's a focus here that I have that I want to do on this woke stuff that I put an emphasis on oftentimes, which is how it's affecting children and how it's being targeted at children. Remember, this is not an adult conversation about what you want to do with your life and your preferences and what you want to identify as. And this isn't about adults. They are going after kids here in a very particular way, in a very uncomfortable way. So this article from the Daily Caller, my friends over at the Daily Caller, was interesting to me about Maryland. Maryland schools guidelines claim kids have a right to keep in-school gender identities private. I was like, that's interesting. So let's look at the article first, and then we'll get to exactly what it says. And there's two components of this, okay? There's one component, which is that kids have the right to keep their in-school identity. So how they identify in school private, separate from their parents. Their parents don't have to know. That's number one. We're going to get into that. And the second one deals with bathrooms, okay? So let's hold on that one. Let's start with the gender identities. Let's read. Maryland Public School District asserts kids have the right to keep their in-school gender identities private from parents. The guidelines vow to, quote, respect the right of students to keep their gender identity or transgender status private and confidential, including parents who do not affirm the child's perceived gender identity. Educators are told not to contact a student's parent or guardian, can you imagine, until they speak with the student to ascertain the level of support the student either receives or anticipates receiving from home. So you send your kid to school, say your kid's in 9th grade, I'm going to make up a grade. That kid has a separate life at school, has a separate identity in the sense that maybe you have a little boy that, you sent to school as a boy, identifies as a girl at school, and the school acknowledges that, treats that child like a girl, does not pick up the phone to call you first, talks to your child, who is a minor, last I checked, okay? The child's tax dollars aren't going to fund that education. Yours are as the parent. That child gets consulted. And then maybe you get looped in if you're supportive, if they deem you as supportive. Interesting way to spend your tax dollars at that school. Okay, let's continue. Staff members are required to call transgender students by their identified name and/or pronouns, and to the extent possible, school personnel will make efforts to maintain the confidentiality of the student's transgender status. The guidelines specifically tell educators that unless a parent, you listening, mom and dad? Unless a parent affirms a student's new identity, to continue to use the student's legal name and pronouns when talking with the parents. So you see this game that's going on? You are in the dark. And this particular school, this is the Montgomery County Public School District, their guidelines, unless you go along, you're just kept in the dark. Right? So you've got a kid that's growing up with a whole identity you don't even know about. Maybe among their friends, among their teachers, among their guidance counselor. I remember once talking to a guidance counselor in New York that was very proud to tell me, oh yes, I have students come to me and they tell me, about their gender identity. And I don't tell their parents because I don't know if it's a safe space at home. And I just thought to myself, wow, you're doing your job horribly. Okay. Now remember, I'm saying this all of this stuff and having all these conversations from the lens of somebody who didn't only teach these kids, but was a student advisor to these kids and was a 9th and then 10th grade dean to these kids. I can tell you that this would never happen. Parents were looped in every single time. Anything that involved something medical, that involved something that centered around the health and wellness of that child, the parent was looped in. And I was quick to discover if there was any issue at home. You got to sift that out too. Of course, guidance counselors get involved sometimes. You never know. Sometimes the situation at home isn't ideal. They have to be looped in. That's a parent, right? This is a child. You don't know. A child could be saying one thing. Maybe that's not what's going on at home at all. These aren't adults. These are children. Okay?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So what happens if, say, a child is getting backlash at home and, they don't want to share that? Well, how does it, what does the guidance counselor do to avoid the kid getting hurt at home or
Well, at some point, I mean, if there is legitimately an issue going on at home where there's any violence in the home or there's any abuse, emotional or otherwise, in the home, and the child comes and vocalizes that, then there's usually a third party that's brought in. But oftentimes what it is now that you see happening a lot is there's just a different way to approach it. Like the parents may not be supportive of their third grader waking up one day and saying, oh, my teacher read me a book about boys and I'm a boy. They're not supportive of that. They don't think that their third grader is able to make that informed decision, so they're not supportive. And now what you have is teachers and administrators kind of battling parents and saying, we're going to shut you out. But of course, if there's an issue of a legitimate problem in the home where that is not a safe home, I mean, that should be looked into regardless, not just as it relates to gender, but across the board. So at that point, you'd have a third party. And I always did. That's why I kind of introed it and said, I always kind of assess that situation. It's very easy to see the dynamic. All you have to do is sit children with their parents, and you can often assess that dynamic that's going on. You can bring a guidance counselor in, you can bring a third party, and you have a lot of tools at your disposal, but there shouldn't be a battle. You know, you have a good home, you have a loving home. This can't be a battle between that home and an administration that is catering to what a child wants and Xing the parent out because the parent doesn't abide by their set of principles, shall we say. Okay. Let's continue now. So I see this and I'm like, wow, okay, so kid can have a whole separate life at school. Parents don't know about it. And I'm basing this on the majority of homes are homes where parents love their children, want what's best for their children. There are outliers. There are homes that are not like that, of course. But most parents want what's best for their children and deeply, deeply love their children and want to be involved in their children's lives. So this is disturbing stuff for those families. So then I get to number 2 and I look and it says gender separated areas. I was like, okay, what's going on here? Well, let's see. It says students can use whichever bathroom, locker room they feel matches their gender identity. Okay. This is the best part. They advise students who are uncomfortable with this to seek counseling to better understand gender identity. So let's look. We actually have the guidelines. On page 2 of that Daily Caller article, it shows you can see here, Natalia can pull that up for you as well. Where facilities are designated by gender, students must be provided access to gender-specific facilities in alignment with their consistently asserted gender identity. So in other words, kid goes to school, say it's a boy, decides he identifies as a girl, now can use the girls' restroom. Okay, that's their gender identity, how they define themselves. They do say that a student who's uncomfortable using a shared facility because of safety, privacy, or other reason should, upon request, be provided with a safe and non-stigmatizing alternative, such as a single bathroom or a privacy partition. The problem with this is it will be stigmatizing. It will be stigmatizing because if somebody comes forward, and we know this, if a student comes forward and says, little girl comes forward and says, I'm uncomfortable with someone with male, anatomy, coming into the bathroom, that little girl is going to be labeled, there's something wrong with her. They're going to send her to counseling. The bullet point even says that. We're going to get to that in a second. Other, friends of hers are going to say, well, why do you care? Are you, the words bigoted, you'd be surprised, are going to be thrown around at schools in front of little kids because all these talking points come from adults. They simmer down and suddenly now this little girl who's uncomfortable is going to be stigmatized. I will guarantee you it will happen. 100%. When I got to the bottom is where I got a little twisted, and I teased that just a moment ago. Some students may feel uncomfortable with a transgender student using the same sex-specific facility, right? School administrators and counseling staff members should work with the students to address their discomfort, to foster understanding of gender identity, and to create a school culture that respects and values all students. So they're going to put a girl, say, I'm just using a girl as an example because I think in a lot of cases this is how it's going to manifest. Little girl is going to say, I'm uncomfortable. Someone with male anatomy coming into the bathroom with me, and they're going to send her to counseling. Think about it. You have a daughter. I mean, I'm just saying, these kids are they're just expressing stuff that's not comfortable for them. And now that kid's going to have to be put in counseling as if there's something wrong with her. And this is, in the meantime, she's saying to herself, I don't care how old she is. Well, this is how it's always been. This is like, it doesn't seem right to me. I don't want to look at like little boys' stuff. You know how kids are. It's always been like the girls' team that they're used to a certain way of things going down, and they're not comfortable. Okay. The other thing that's interesting to me is what's worded here. This discomfort is not a reason to deny access to the transgender student. So they've decided now that little girl, her discomfort is not as important as the discomfort that might occur in the mind of a transgender student who wasn't able to access the bathroom that matched his or her gender identity, the way they identify. This is a problem. It's going to be a problem for parents. I think it's going to be a problem for kids. I think it's going to get deeply concerning, particularly when we're talking about little girls. I think really there's going to be concerns about, different age brackets. Are you going to want your little girl? Remember this whole debate popped up several years ago. Are you going to want, your little girls in 6th grade going into the bathroom with an 8th grade, based on biology and based on anatomy, boy, who identifies as a girl. These are legitimate concerns that people will have. They're valid concerns. And again, listen, this is not a debate. I'm going to say it again because I always get people say, oh, you're a bigot. This is not a debate about adults and adult behavior. You're dealing with kids. You're dealing with schools who are pushing a certain agenda. That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about live and let live. We're not talking about any of that. Parents, at home, weigh in. Are you concerned about this pattern? This is not going to be the first school and it's not going to be the last school. Are you concerned about this pattern of what's going on in schools as it relates to your son, your daughter? Please get in the chat. Let us know. I'll have Natalia check back. I'm curious if this is something that's concerning to you. Don't forget to subscribe, to hit like. Love graphic, as you know. But please let me know. Because I hear from parents all the time that are worried about this. And they're not bigots. And they're not trying to hurt anybody. But they are concerned about their children who are vocalizing discomfort and seem to have no support within the school structure in which to vocalize that, short of being sent to counseling and being labeled, I don't know, something wrong with her. She's not adapting to 2022 culture. That's where it's going.
What advice would you give to anybody who maybe, like parent-wise, who is agreeing with you? What advice would you give to them talking to their kids? Like if this was happening to Hartley, like how would you speak to Hartley in a sense of like, what's going on? Like, how would you have a conversation like that?
I think it depends on the age of the child too. Like parents have to be ready to have that discussion.
Say they're in 5th grade. They're pretty,
you're going to, and that's the thing. These conversations are going to happen oftentimes earlier than you want them to happen because these things are happening in kindergarten now. Like there's things that are changing rapidly with very, very young children. So I think parents are going to have to just accept that if you're sending your kids particularly to public school, or in even private school settings, in many cases, you're going to have these discussions early. So I think you have to be honest about what's going on. I think you have to allow your child to express any discomfort. I think you have to be very involved. Homeschooling is booming now for a reason because people distrust these systems. They distrust the systems. They feel like they're being locked out because they are as parents. They don't like that there's an agenda. They don't like that one kid, his safe space is more important than this kid's safe space. Maybe they don't like that there are safe spaces at all. They don't understand what's going on here with all of this woke stuff. But I think that I would probably have a real conversation and say, this is, first of all, my kid would not be in a school that, had woke propaganda going on in the school. That would not be happening. And parents also know what's going on in the school. Go up, ask. I don't know where this showed up. This is in a PDF document, for an example, that you can access, gender identity guidelines for students. Parents, make sure you're reading everything because sometimes stuff is distributed and you don't take a look at it or you're busy, you're trying to put food on the table, you're juggling, 2 or 3 kids. It's really important because oftentimes they put this stuff in the fine print and they do let you know, but you just haven't seen it. Ask questions. If you haven't, say, what is the policy here when it comes to this? These are important questions. Are you separating, kids by gender and like what is your gender policy as it relates to children? Know these things so that you know what types of conversations you have to have with your kid. But I would be 100% honest with my child about what's going on. And hey, like if something makes you uncomfortable, you have to be able to tell your kids something makes you uncomfortable. Like you need to tell mom and dad about it. Like something happens at school where you feel like, something's going on that's not right, vocalize it. But more often than not, it's gonna come down to parents being educated about what's going on in the school and kind of jumping in front of that before the kid gets uncomfortable. And oftentimes you're gonna wind up, I'm telling you, man, this homeschool stuff is gonna blow up. Not only homeschooling, but homeschool pods. Parents are done in many respects. So decide, is this comfortable for you? Do you care? Maybe you don't care. Maybe you're a parent that doesn't care. You're going to have that conversation with the kid. Everyone's going to feel differently, but there's enough parents that I think are going to be concerned about where this is going and where it has the potential to go when you get into high school settings. And boys and girls are different and their strength is different. And there's a lot to think about here when it comes to children that people are not going to want you to talk about, but you have to be able to express. And I'm not saying this person's going to do something wrong, guaranteed, but it's just, this stuff needs to be thought about and expressed and discussed in detail without just putting an endorsement on it because then you get to wear a sticker that says, I'm woke, like me. All right. This is interesting too. This comes in from, this is an actual news segment. Somebody sent this to me. I was like, I can't even. So this comes from KOB4. It's a local news network out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And oftentimes when you think of local news, I love local news because I always see like, that's where you see like, there's a crime scene or there's, it covers like real. I always said the local news is like the real news, it's not like politics and, all that nonsense that oftentimes you get caught up in cable news. But this was interesting. I went to a Twitter page. I think, Natalia, you should have that. I don't think I printed the Twitter. Oh, here we go. You can pull it up when you get a chance. Okay. So, that's actually, we're going to go to the next one, actually. You're one up. Okay. That's a good one, though. So you got to wait for that one. Again, this is a real news station. It's a Twitter account. The woman that's being interviewed here is supposedly an HR expert. Okay. Now, just keep in mind, this is a news station. I'm going to play some of this. We're going to react. And I just think about what's going on here. Okay. We can play the video. Can you guys up here? Thanks. We playing? No? Not playing? No. Doesn't want to play. Interesting. Okay, I can cover it without playing it. It's an interesting video. If you guys do figure out how to play it, I don't need you to play it in order to discuss it. But basically, what they're doing in this, they spend several minutes. They bring this HR expert on, several minutes, talking about how in the workplace you can properly manage, dealing with people who have different pronouns, how to navigate the situation so nobody feels hurt. I mean, it's quite unbelievable to listen to it unfold. It says such things as like, don't ask them what their pronoun is, wait for them to tell you. The implication that it's bullying if you don't call them by the pronoun of choice. That's the implication, the suggestion that comes through. And it goes through this kind of like whirlwind of like what you need to do and how you must, the implication is that you must. And it says at one point too that, there won't be like penalty if you don't do it. Well, of course there will. We know that if you don't do it in the workplace, there's going to be penalty. Somebody's going to pull you aside. You're going to get sent to some type of program where you get educated about what is and what isn't. But my issue is always like, to what end? To what end? So if we decide that this is what we're going to do, right? That we're going to now cater. And let me be clear with you about this. My personal feeling in this, I don't care. You want to be called Darth Vader? I'll call you. I really genuinely don't care. I'm like, sure, Darth Vader. Like I personally don't care. If you come into work and you say, I'm a ladybug, and you decide to crawl on all fours slowly and act like a ladybug, like I actually would be like, fine, like, and I'll talk to you from the floor. I mean, I'm really just that mellow about this stuff personally. Now, do I realize that facts cease to matter? And do I realize that we're in the land of make-believe in many cases? And do I realize that now, instead of having two genders, there's like a list? Last I saw one list that was like 60. Do I realize that's absurd and ridiculous? Yes, I do. Regardless of my particular opinion, do you realize how crazy this is for some people, that now in order to go to work, you have to navigate all this, you have to be pressured, you have to am I handling this situation right? If I don't, am I going to be labeled this, that? Am I going to lose my job? I mean, this is crazy. Also, just take a moment to consider, does this belong? Does this belong in a local news segment? Is that like when you turn on local news, do you want to be educated as to how to interact with somebody based on their pronouns? And is that something you want to see? Genuinely curious. They're trying to fix the video. I got a great team in the room. They're like going back and forth trying to get a hold of this video. It's a good video. It's not an amazing video. I'm not too worried about it. But you guys get the picture here. And this is my question to you in the chat. Does this bug you? Even if you personally don't care about, like, hey, I'll call, like I said, call somebody a ladybug, they identify, even if this is not your personal issue. Does it bother you that now it's on the local news and now it's like a campaign, so to speak? Does that bother you? Does it bother you that now there's like instructional videos going out about this, and now you got to worry if somebody says, you see somebody that is biologically a male and identifies as a female, and now you got to figure out how to interact with them, but you can't bring it up, but they got to bring it up. And there's all these rules. And if you misstep at any point, maybe you land in some type of program, like you're an outlier at the company, and then gossip gets around and the company's talking about you, that you didn't handle it right and you're backward. And does it concern you at all in a workplace? I don't know where you work. Is this something, I would be curious to know, based on where you live, is this something you're dealing with right now? Is this something you're living with? Is this foreign to you? Do you see this stuff and say, I don't see any of this? I'm curious. Where are you from? If you are dealing with this in any, you don't have to give your company. I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble here. If this is something that you are dealing with, do me a favor and just tell me like where you live. I'm curious. If it's foreign to you, tell me where you live. Because this is, again, I'm going to tell you, this is happening in woke companies. It's happening in woke companies in very targeted areas. And it's a bit excessive. It's a bit excessive to many. Even if it's a bit excessive even for people who support this stuff and say, yeah, I'll call you whatever you want. I don't care. But like, shh, enough. Stop lecturing me. It's getting to be a bit too much. All right. Are we good on video for the next video? Do we know?
We can test it.
We can test it? Okay, let's see. All right. So the next video we have is fascinating. And I'm doing a lot of these because, again, what's going on in classrooms, I think, is scaring a lot of parents. This is from Libs of TikTok. You guys know Libs of TikTok? Some of the stuff they post, they got in trouble, remember, because they were just posting people saying real things that they were actually saying and doing. And of course, it was like, Libs of TikTok is bigoted. And everybody's like, well, they're just posting what you're saying. So maybe it's you. I don't know. Anyway, I go and I see this post. This is one, Natalia, that you pulled up earlier that said, this is a teacher. It says, teachers claim entire class of second grade students changed their pronouns and it's being kept a secret from unsafe, that's in quotation marks, that's her quotation mark. I don't know how she identifies adults. All right, so let's give it a shot to play this video. We're having a little tech issue here today, so be patient with us. But we're going to try to play this video and see what happens.
I'm going to make this TikTok without crying, because that's what I do. Please ignore the dog bone crunching behind me. Anyhow, one of my students felt safe enough to share his pronouns with me. And when he did so, once the class knew that I knew, they all switched pronouns. They're second graders. Like, I'm torn between being really, really happy to be a safe space and just absolutely furious that an entire group of second graders has to keep this secret from not safe
Okay, let's
people.
Pause this for a second. So what horrifies me about it is that she doesn't understand what a second grader is. You understand how this story played out? This is a teacher to second graders. Second graders are 7, 8 years old. You know a 7 or 8 year old in your life? You got a kid that's 7 or 8. You had a kid that was 7 or 8. You teach a kid that's 7 or 8. Niece or nephew 7 or 8. You've met a 7 or 8 year old. Okay, so essentially what happens here is that one student shares, his or her pronouns with the teacher. All the kids find out, and then all the kids start saying that. Like, oh, what's her name said she's a boy. I'm a boy too. Can you just see how this, second grade, see how this could go? I mean, my kid sits in front of me. I'm not kidding. We read Curious George, and I'm like, I read a line like, where's my little monkey? I'm a monkey, he says. He wants to be a monkey. He loves George. He's a child. He's 2.5, granted. He's not 7 or 8. Think about a 7 or 8 year old. So she hasn't grasped that maybe this is just about kids not really understanding the depth of this concept. And they're just like, I'm a boy, I'm a girl, I'm a boy, I'm a boy. Like, they don't really get it, right? They're like, oh, somebody just read me a story about a boy who X, Y, Z. Maybe I'm a boy. Okay, I'm a boy. Call me a boy. Okay? She's assuming that there's a depth of understanding that cannot happen. That cannot be processed in 7 or 8th grade, 8-year-old, mind, or 7th or 8th grade for that matter, in many capacities. If you've dealt with 7th or 8th graders, separate conversation. But these are second graders, which is even more ridiculous. Okay, let's just finish the rest of the video, please, Natalia, when you get a second.
Why are kids feeling unsafe? And furthermore, why does everyone talk about how are the kids going to understand? The kids fucking understand it. It's easy for them. It's the adults who have all of the frigging issues and hang-ups and bullshit Kids are fine.
It's clearly the children that understand this issue in great capacity. She immediately assumed that these kids felt unsafe. Like, well, they were withholding this information. Second grade. I keep saying it because you need to understand second grade. We're not talking about high schoolers here. It's a very different conversation. You're talking about high schoolers. You're talking about second graders here. The assumption was that these second graders had such a complexity of mind that they said, we feel unsafe. Let me withhold this information. Oh, that student shared it. So now, and the whole class just starts changing their pronouns. That doesn't seem odd to you? That the whole class just kind of chimed in and was just like, oh yeah, I'm going to change my pronoun. People aren't allowed to talk about the social component of this, right? Because it goes against woke ideology. You're supposed to just accept that even though all of this woke stuff is being shoved down kids' throats in school 24 hours a day, you're supposed to accept that it's not odd that you have so many more kids now coming out and saying, well, I'm not a boy, I'm a girl, I'm not a this, at very, very young ages, and that there can't possibly be a correlation between them being flooded with this stuff all day long and the fact that their little minds just say, oh, well, maybe I'm this or maybe I'm that, and can't process this at the level that an adult can. Isn't it something like your brain's not fully formed? Natalia, check this for me. I think it's like your brain's not at full adult capacity till you're like 25. I think it's 25. These are impressionable little second graders, okay? Where is the adult in the room? Where is the adult in the room? Is she supposed to be it? God help us. Seriously, God help us. Is it 25? I think it's 25 or 20. Yeah, it's 25 until the age of 25, okay? Second grade, y'all. Okay. So again, this needs to be discussed in a different way because there's people in society that are treating these little kids like adults. And you've got puberty blockers coming into play now. You've got gender surgeries coming into play. You've got medications coming into play. You've got stuff that they say, oh, everything's reversible. Well, there's a lot of doctors that say maybe it's not all reversible, or what are the implications? You got a lot of parents asking questions, but you've got a lot of stuff coming into play here that's quite serious. It's not just I identify as a different gender, end of story. There's stuff coming into play that's actually altering the physicality, the hormones of children in order to support what a very small child might say one day and not even understand. Okay, so we need to be willing and able to have this conversation that this is not functional adult commentary on this. If you're talking about second graders and saying, of course they can understand everything, it's the adults that are well, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. Okay. All right, now we're going to get into some interesting videos. I actually was worried for a second about the tech because I was like, second half of the show is all videos. So if we don't have access to video, you're going to hear me singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, or some shit's going to go down here that you're not going to like. Anyway, Natalia, you'd have to chime in. Be Dorothy, and I don't know, maybe I'll be the good witch or something.
I got you. I'll spit a little rap in there.
I would have just done a rant about something. You know that. America the Beautiful. Something would have come out of my mouth. All right. So we're going to get to some of these videos now. This one is very interesting. Let me just make sure I'm in the right order here, Natalia, because I know I'm throwing you off. Sometimes it's me. Good. I know you think it's Natalia, but you know, my organization sometimes at the table leaves a lot to be desired. Let's just say that. Let's do this one. Woman swears off dating men due to a frustrating trend. This is fascinating. This went so viral, actually, that a whole article was written up in the New York Post about it. It says... It's fascinating. Her name is Jules Lowell. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I actually would love, producers, if you're listening, I would love to have this woman on the show. I think she would be a fantastic guest. I'll even do it remotely. I don't know where she's located. I'll do it remotely. Anyway, it went viral, and a lot of women were like, I'm with you. I'm with you. We're going to play it. I'm going to actually do live reacts as this goes along because I agree with some of it. I disagree with a lot of it. And this is actually what you see here is what is the manifestation of a manosphere that is now sometimes blanketed in chauvinism. It's happening. I promise you it's happening. And a hyperfeminism that sometimes can't stand men. And all that you're getting out of this is clashing, unhappy women, and Some of the commentary that you're going to see here is a reflection of the frustration of all of these systems that really don't want to fix the problem, just bashing heads. Let's take a listen.
This is probably reason number 500,000 of why I'm going to be single for the rest of my life. And I'm fine with that. I don't want to do anything for you. I don't want to cook for you. I don't want to clean for you. I don't want to be your secretary and set your appointments and chase you around and make you go because of your health. I don't want to pick up your socks for you. I don't want to be one of those people who comes on TikToks and makes funny videos about how you can't do anything for yourself and men do the darndest things and everybody's in the comments like, yeah, my husband does that too. My boyfriend does that too. Fuck that. I want to be with somebody who is an adult, a fully functioning adult.
Okay, let's pause it for a second. So first of all, she says right off the bat, I'm going to come back to this too. We're going to play the whole thing. She says, I'm fine with that. Fine with being single. She's not. She's not fine with it. She's not. You could see right there. If she was fine with it, she wouldn't be doing this video. She wouldn't be doing the video. She would be actually fine with it. She'd be out shopping, doing whatever, not talking, not caring. She cares enough to do the video. She's frustrated. She wants a partner. She'd prefer to have a partner. She's not fine being single. Let's get that straight. Let's be real. Girlfriend, you got to be real, because if you're going to do these videos, you got to be honest. She's saying she don't want to be your cook. I don't want to be your cook. I don't want to be your secretary. I don't want to be your housekeeper. I don't want to be a laughing stock that it's like, oh, my husband leaves his dirty socks all over the floor. Now I have to pick them up. So I'm with her to an extent, right? To an extent. Because you don't want to mother someone. You want someone who cares enough about their own, like I always said, I want like a neat man. I can't have a slob throwing everything all over the floor and all that, because I'm not your housekeeper, right? You can't do that. You can't live like that. You'll be resentful. So I understand. I'm with her to a point. She wants you to care about your own health enough that if something feels wrong, you make a doctor appointment. You know, she wants some initiative on the part of the man. She wants a fully functioning adult human. I am with her to an extent. However, you're going to do a relationship right, you're going to do some of this for your partner. Sometimes I clean up. Sometimes my husband leaves his socks on the floor and I pick them up. Sometimes I leave my socks on the floor and he picks them up. Sometimes I cook dinner. Sometimes he cooks dinner. So don't get lost in the, I don't want to be your housekeeper, feminist language, and lose the fact that a marriage and a good relationship does involve you doing stuff for the other person and them doing stuff for you. You don't want a fully functioning roommate. Get a roommate then. You got a partner, then you need a partner. You're in it together. Let's keep rolling. This is good.
Again, that men are the ones who benefit from marriage and relationships, because we get in them and we do everything, and they just get to sit back and receive everything from us. And then as a treat, they might do something for our birthday or for Mother's Day.
Yeah, so that's not, I don't know who she, again, and this is where it becomes important to say, I don't know who she's hanging out with. Maybe she's got some friends that are in not such great relationships, but to imply that men, that men are the ones that only benefit, that's not fair either. There's a lot of women that get into a marriage and they benefit financially from that situation, right? There's a lot of women that have the opportunity to then say, if I want to have a child, that I can stay home if I want to stay home, because you've got a husband there that's working and paying the bills. That does happen. That dynamic does exist. There's a lot of times that you need a guy. You know what? I don't know. Maybe she gets on her ladder and she's fixing everything and she's doing, all I know is that there's a lot of ladies around there, myself included, that when it comes time to hang stuff and fix stuff and the toilet bowl clogs and this, that, I'm very grateful to have a husband in the house to say, babe, I don't know what you did to that toilet. I will blame him. Oh, I will, because 9 out of 10 times it's him that clogged that toilet up. But he's also going to fix it. Like, babe, I'm not going to get in there. Okay. When it was time to do stuff with the house that involved anything that I'm not good with that stuff, right? He had the drill. He had it. Don't act like the guys aren't there for anything and not helping out and not doing good stuff to make that situation better. You know it. Okay. This is where the feminist talking points. See, it's getting the best of her. She's frustrated. Okay.
Men get to exist in relationships and just receive. Why can't we exist together? And if we do nice things for each other, it's just organic. It just happens. But it's not the expectation. It's not something I have to do because I'm the woman. When I come home after a long day, I don't want.
So what she's saying is, what she's arguing against are these traditional female and male roles. That's my perception. I'd love to hear it from her mouth directly, but this would be a fantastic guest. I'm not kidding. I could just tell. But she's arguing against, because you're the woman, you cook and you clean and you do the laundry. And because you're the man, you head off to work and you make the money. That's what she seems to be underlying all this, is a frustration with a system. Okay? It's an old system. That's not really how it works today for a lot of women. There's a lot of career women out there, but there's a big difference. There's a big difference here in saying, like, I want a grown adult who's going to, help me and I'm going to help them, and saying, I want a guy. You know what I'm saying? See what I'm getting at, audience? See where she's going with this? Do you see what I'm saying? That feminism, that the extremes, see what they're doing to women? See what they're doing to men? Got men out there now saying, well, and you're going to see a video after this that's going to clarify all this. You got men out there and they're saying, does she cook? Is she a real woman? Does she cook? That's a problem. You got women out there saying, well, I don't want to do anything for him. She probably walks into a relationship now with the assumption that she's going to be a doormat and a slave. Don't do it. Just make better choices. There's a whole bunch of men out there that don't want to leave their dirty socks on the floor for you. They want to be their own person. They want to give and take. Okay.
What would be something for her to do if she doesn't want to be the breadwinner? She doesn't want to cook or clean or do anything. What would be her role? Like,
well, I'd be curious. Like, what does she want to do? Does she want to be a career woman? Yeah. Does she want an equal footing in the home? Does she want what does she define as like a male and a female role? And some of this is like every household will be a little bit different. As an example, and I was going to give this example to Rolo the other day. I have a friend who, and you see I'm doing it again, right? There's people at home who say, oh, well, she's bringing up, a personal experience. Well, yes, because these people exist and they're a good representation that not everybody fits in the box. I have a friend, she started a skincare business. She and her husband did it together. They started a spa. He ran the books for the first year. He packaged the products. They sold a whole product line. She was the person in front. She did all the facials. They're partners in that business. There's a give and take. Sometimes she's at home. Sometimes he's at home. Sometimes I see her TikTok videos or whatever videos and he's running around the background doing the laundry and all that. Sometimes it's the reverse. And you see her, making a big meal on a Friday night and that's her day off and she's doing a whole bunch of stuff and he's off handling the business end of the business. That's great. That works for them. So I would be curious to ask somebody like that, what are you looking for? What are you really looking for? Because it sounds like if you don't want to do anything for him, guess what? He's not going to want to do anything for you, right? You said you don't want to cook, you don't want to clean, you don't want to pick up his socks, you don't want to. Do you want him to pay the bills? I would ask, what do you want him to do for you? Because it seems like him buying a nice gift on Valentine's Day, that wasn't satisfying to you. You felt like that was, what do you want him to do for you? Because I think it's nice when a man does cook a meal. When a man says, oh, I did this for you. Oh, hey, like when I go home and like there's food on the stove, that is my happiest moment because I hate to cook.
Same.
Right? It's like,
feeling. You're like, I'm eating today.
That's it. I'm set. The food is coming. I'm set. Right? Yes. So, and I always liked guys that cooked because I hate to cook. And I find it like I would rather have a good meal than have a diamond ring. I say that. And you're like, well, Jed, you have a diamond. I have a wedding ring. You notice I don't have a lot of jewelry going on? That's not my thing. I'm not into all that stuff. I'm like, cook me a good meal, like watch a good movie with me. I'm a simple girl from a simple time. I like it that way. But if you just be warned, ladies, if you say to a guy, I don't want to do all these things for you, just be prepared. They're going to turn around and say, well, I don't want to do all these things for you either. And then what are you doing? Why bother? She sounds bitter. She sounds like she went through some shit. Honestly, I know it's a judgment, but she does sound like she maybe went a few rounds with a guy who wanted her to be the housekeeper and the cook and all that, and just that. My advice is, and I do give, Rolo says he doesn't give advice. Meantime, the whole book is advice. But regardless, my advice, I do give advice proudly. Dear Abby's, dear Jet, My advice is, don't assume that because you got burned in a situation that your future situations will look like that. Don't size somebody up based off the past. Be willing to give and take. And don't allow these arguments coming from feminists who hate men. Some of them do. They do. They're looking to kneecap men, like they're done with men. They want men to be second-class citizens because they feel that women were second-class citizens for a very long time, and it's about revenge for some of these feminists. That's a reality. Don't let that, and don't let a manosphere that has some, not all, but some individuals that want to now put you in your place as a woman, don't let them corrupt you. They're not speaking for the majority. I'm telling you straight up. Most people just want a decent, kind partnership. End of story. So I would love to have her on. If we get her on, I'm not kidding. I think she would be fantastic and shoot the shit. I don't say that often about a TikTok person, but man, she's good. All right, now with that being said, I put these back to back because now we're going to talk about a guy who comes in with commentary from the other side that's not helpful. We're going to go to Boss Girl. Natalia, do you have that one?
Yes.
Let's pick it up. Let's take a look. This is Ricard Cooper, his name is. I don't know if you know him. He's Entrepreneurs in Cars. He has a YouTube channel, Entrepreneur. Does a lot of commentary like this. This is one particular video that struck me.
Been told to go and chase the degree. They don't need no man. Go and work. And then they hear all these songs about being a hashtag boss girl and bad and all that kind of stuff. And these chicks are like, you know, they think that they're the bomb. They're 30s, 40s, whatever. They work out, they do yoga, Pilates, exactly like, you know, you described, right? But do they know how to cook? Do they know how to like please a guy? Do they know how to be pleasant and agreeable?
Yes.
Okay, so you see how this now from the other side got like, this video is what that other woman is responding to. She's seeing this and saying, I'm not that. I'm a woman. I can do more than those things. So you've got the worst on the left, and by left, let's put the men over here, the worst over here, and then you've got, oh, you said this to me, I'm gonna get defensive now. Oh, you said this, oh, I'm gonna get defensive now. Okay, good luck in the dating world if you're just playing a defense game the whole time. It doesn't work like that. No one wins. So this rubbed me the wrong way. Now he started off, I think, again, you start off where you've got people listening, right? This boss girl, what does that even mean, right? That's the I don't need a man. That's the 2022, I don't need a man, I can do everything. I can work, I can pay the bills, I can get, if I want a baby, I'll just go get a sperm donor. That's who he's talking about. I did my yoga today, I make 6 figures, I've got a cute car, I go to the club. That's who he's talking about. That's a problem, right? Because there's something, if you've got that much of an attitude about not needing a man, there's something going on. Why? Did you get burned? I'm sorry to say, did you? What is going on? Exactly. But he comes in and then says, do they know how to cook? Traditional female role that women hate that. They hate being put in a box. Oh, now I'm the chef, right? Because for a very long time, what did women do? They weren't in the workforce. They were cooking, they were cleaning, they were at home. There was a rebellion against that because women didn't, it's not that they hated doing all that. They didn't want to be only that. They wanted more options. And they got them, right? So the last thing they want is someone telling them to go back to the way it was before they had those options, right? Do they know how to please a man? Now, I think you should, truthfully. Yes, if you're in a relationship, you should know how to make your partner happy. You should know how to make a man happy. You should know, like, hey, maybe I can cook him something great tonight that he loves to eat. Hey, sexually, you got to know how to please your partner. It's the reality. But when you define it like this, as if that's the woman's role, to please a man, to cook, to be pleasant and agreeable, dude, get a robot. Get a housekeeper. Get a live-in housekeeper. My job's not to be pleasant and agreeable. Like, sit with your hands folded. I feel like I'm back in Catholic school. It was like, sit with your hands folded and shh, don't talk too loud. It's not about that, okay? And the problem is that what's happening now, women are multidimensional, right? Sometimes I'm pleasant and agreeable, and sometimes I'm not so pleasant. I'm a human being, right? Women are so tired of this structure that used to exist. They don't want that, right? That now, in order to say, I'm not going to be your cook, I'm not going to be pleasant, now they're turning all the way over here and saying, well, I'm not going to cook at all. I'm not going to be any of those things. It's all defense. Think about sports, right? If you're always on defense, it's exhausting. Are these people exhausted? Always trying to strategize, always trying to figure out how somebody's going to get one up on them right away. Always trying to figure out, she's asking me a question about my sexual history. There must be a game being played. How can I outgame her game? Always trying to do something that's like, I remember being on Adam's show, Saucecast, and he was like, well, why would I get married to, if I don't have kids, then I got to worry she's going to take all my money. If you're going into the marriage worrying that somebody's going to take all your money, you are with the wrong girl. Do not marry her. You got the wrong match. If you're going to go to every situation like that, you're doomed. You cannot run a relationship like this. You will go mad. You will go stark raving mad. It's also just an unhealthy state of mind to always assume somebody, and I understand, listen, I get it. There's a lot of this. This is blanketed chauvinism, is what this is. What this guy's doing is blanketed chauvinism. It is. Okay. It just, his tone of voice, the way he's approached, there's a way to say this stuff that's not chauvinistic. He opted not to. He could have said it a lot differently. He could have said, listen, do you care about, pleasing your man as well in a relationship? Do you care about, if he loves a great meal, do you care about being able to put that on the table the same way that you would expect him to put it on the table for you if that was something you were passionate? There's a way to say these things that implies a give and take. He chose not to. All I'm saying to everyone out there is, what is the goal? Is the goal to just say this is a shitstorm we're in? And so, you know what? Everybody's shooting everybody, so let me just get out my gun and shoot better. Or is the goal to just figure out how to not be in a zone where everybody's shooting each other, just step out and find a situation where there's peace? Talk differently. Remember, everybody's a person at the end of the day. There's a lot of flame throwing back and forth. It's not helping anybody. It's just not. It's not. And I understand. Let me just speak to this for a second before we go to the next video, which is fantastic. I get there are games. I was talking to my friend about this last night, my girlfriend. She said, Jed, she said, honestly, though, a lot of people do play games. She is right. She is right. There are a lot of people out there, especially now with the social media and the texting, and they can hide behind that, and the hyper promiscuity that's now elevated, all of that. There's a lot of games being played in dating. A lot of it. From men, from women, both sides. A lot of it. Here's what I have to say to you. There's also a lot of people not playing those games. Find those people. Find those people. Don't bother with a relationship where you have to if you have to out-strategize someone on date 1, can you imagine how tired you're going to be on date 10? Also, you're not going to want to share your abundance. I say abundance because I mean your home, your wealth that you accumulate, your goods, your child with somebody who you think is secretly out to get you all the time. This is not healthy. So I don't care that there's a lot of unhealthy shit going on around you. Be different. Decide to be different. And in your interaction with someone, if you don't have that attitude, you're going to make them think maybe there's a better way. Most people want a better way. They don't want to be messed with. They don't want to waste 10 years playing games. They don't want to be. I know you think girls want to be up on the phone all night with he texted this, but he didn't text me back. And then I don't know, because now I know you think that's what's going on, but that nauseates us after a while. It's frustrating. It's stressful. The intrigue is gone. There's a lot of tears that are shed over that shit. We don't want that. It's one thing to be a little mysterious on day 1, and it's another thing to torture people with these games that are endless. Be better. Be better. Expect better, give better. I don't know, man. Maybe I got to move to a small town somewhere. All right. This is fantastic. I want to talk about hooking up with exes. Hooking up with exes. I am, like we talk about, a relic. I'm not that old, people. I know every time I say that, you're like, well, Jet, I'm not that old. I am 43. Sounds old, doesn't it? How old are you, Natalia?
21 forever.
How old are you,
I'm
Natalia?
25. I'm 25.
She's 25 and she's already changed her age. She's 25 and she already bumped it down.
21 forever.
21 forever. Forever 21. Was it? Do you have your shop at that store? Forever 21?
I used to at one point, and then it just got too cheap, and it was like
I used to too. And let me tell you, let me admit something to you all at home. I shopped there way beyond the point when I should have. I'm just going to say that. I was nowhere near 21, but I was living on a teacher's salary. And sometimes I like to go out, and sometimes, you can make something, clothes. Ladies, you can make cheap clothes look spicy.
Yeah, for sure.
So I did. 25.
They had a few bangers in there. It wasn't
25 already saying she's 20.
21 forever.
You could go on The Bachelorette. You want to go on The Bachelorette? Oh my God, that would be so great, Natalia, on The Bachelorette.
I'm not sure if I want to make
I would love that. Do it for me. I want to watch.
I'll consider it for you. I'll do that.
My mom wanted me to go on The Bachelorette back in the day. My mom's at home listening. She's probably like, don't tell all my secrets. It's all on the table, Mom. Sorry. When I took this show, you knew that your entire life was going to be displayed to the audience, and you didn't object in the proper amount of time. So here we are. My mom wanted me to go on that show when I was younger. And I was like, I think I might have had a little too much attitude for that show, is all I'm going to say. It would have been good TV, though, right?
Good TV.
Oh, yeah. I would have been like, I'm not going to Fantasy Suites with any of you. No. All right, let's look at this. Logan Paul. I didn't know who Logan Paul was, but Logan Paul's a pro wrestler and a YouTuber. I didn't know who he was.
You didn't know?
I didn't.
This guy's everywhere.
Yeah, I didn't know.
He has actually a really good podcast.
Natalia's going to make me feel 75, even when I don't invite it. But yeah, I really didn't. But regardless... this is an interesting video. Now, he's 24, which I thought was interesting.
Logan Paul is?
Yeah, no?
Let me check. Let me check for you.
That's what I thought. I could have it wrong.
Paul's age.
She's about to watch. She's going to be like...
Be shocked. Oh, nah, he's 27.
27.
I was like, ain't no way this guy's younger than me.
Can I just say that to me, okay, this is an important moment because to me, 24 and 27 is like the same.
Yeah.
And to her, she was like,
No way.
27 is old.
No, it's not that it's old.
I know what
but
you thought.
He looked like not 24. And he behaved not 24.
This is what we call trying to dig yourself out of a hole that you dug. Nobody give Natalia a shovel. No. All right, Logan Paul, 27. Okay. I don't know when he made this video, but by the way, I think Jeremy gave me that inaccurate information. So to my husband at home, shame on you. You're supposed to be the researcher. Anyway. Okay, let's check out this video. I think it's interesting. People at home, think about, how would you feel? How would you feel if one of your friends picked up the phone and asked you if they could hook up with your ex?
This situation in the past where I was dating this girl. You're not going to know this girl. I was dating this girl and we had broken up. I had a friend call me and was like, yo, I'm out with your girl. This was like months down the line. She's like, I'm out with, this girl at this club, and she's like coming on to me. And this friend asked me, do you mind? I'm asking you if I can hook up with your ex-girlfriend, like essentially. And truthfully, it was hard for me at the time to say that, no, I don't mind. And I don't know if it was like an ego thing. If I felt like I said yes, I'd feel like weak. Like my connection to my ex made me feel weak. I said, no, I don't mind if you hook up with her. And then they did hook up, and it actually like hurt me the next day. I was actually
say though, this would have been a great video actually, even for Rolo to comment on, because I'm going to tell you straight, the fact that guy said it hurt him it appealed to me even more. Like, I liked him when he said that. He went from being like that's the kind of guy that I would have dated, who would have been willing to admit like, shit, that shit hurt me. So vulnerabilities in men, again, you don't have to cry through Titanic every time it goes on. A little vulnerability, a little showing like I gave a shit about that situation and like it hurt. That goes a long way. We women, we eat that up like candy. All right. Eric's in the room. He's like, wow, Jed got a little too excited about that vulnerability. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Because guys don't share it. They don't show that. And if they do, it's like, it's frowned upon, And they don't have to cry to show that they care. But like, even that's, like when he said it as the same for me, I'm like, like, like he felt something with this girl. It wasn't just like I banged her and I dated her.
Right. Exactly. So now see, people in the Manosphere listening. This is a young girl. I don't know if you're dating anybody right now, but let's just say, are you? You want to share that or no? You don't have to.
No,
okay. She don't want to share it. All right. Some people like their privacy. Who knows? But regardless of, like perfect age to be out there dating, experience. Saying again, that vulnerability in men doesn't have to be excessive. Like, no, we don't want you showing up crying every night for the whole, that would be weird. Then maybe some therapy or something. I don't know. But, a little bit of a sign that you actually gave a shit, because also if you gave a shit about that girl, you're probably going to give a shit about the next girl. Like, you're somebody who gives a shit is the bottom line. Awesome. Now let's talk about the ex situation. Now I'm, again, not going to say I got to stop saying I'm a relic. I'm 21 too. Anyway, I'm old school on this, and I don't understand, like, when I was young, like, you just didn't do this. There was like girl code and there was guy code. And if it was an ex, now, unless it was somebody that, say, he had gone out on a date with, they didn't sleep together, wasn't serious, like they went out for a few hours, didn't work out, wasn't a good match, that's different. That's like, whatever, they didn't have anything. But an ex-girlfriend, to have your friend call you up and be like, do you mind if I hook up with? And I'm not sure, what is hook up in this? Are they talking about sex, or are they talking about whatever the night leads to when
Honestly,
you say hook up?
I think it just depends on the people.
Okay.
Like, it depends. Like, some people are like to me, hooking up is like any type of contact, like that's hooking up, like kissing, any of that.
Okay.
But to some people, hooking up is like you all the way.
All the way.
Like,
so it could be either.
It could be
depending
either,
upon,
the person,
again,
yeah.
like, and also it might mean different things in different parts of the country too. Again, I don't know. It'd be interesting to have. I would love to do a panel with people from different parts of the country on dating and see, like,
the difference of
their
it.
minds would be blown by some of this shit going on in South Beach is all I'm going to say. But I am old school about this, and I can't imagine that, like, somebody you dated, like, if your friend calls you and asks that, I would, like, have a little concern about that friendship. Like, dude, why are you putting me on the spot like that? Because now it's uncomfortable to say no, because then you're like, do I look like, I don't know, insecure or weird, or like I still have feelings for that girl if I say no? So in the heat of the moment, you're just like, sure, whatever, because you want to, like, play it off cool. But that's weird.
But do you
That is
think it's a
weird.
difference between guy and girls? Like a guy being like, bro, can I hook up with this girl? Versus like girls, girls are a little more territorial, and like even when they break up, they may break up and have feelings left behind. Sometimes guys, like, they'll just be like, yeah, whatever,
Do you think so? See, I don't know. I think guys would
I
be.
think it's different with
if it was a
guys.
girl they really liked. Like, it depends also. If it was a girl that, like, you didn't care that much about, you dated for a few months, it wasn't a thing, I don't think they'd care. But if it was like a girlfriend,
But what if it was a girlfriend they really cared about and the girlfriend cheated on him?
That's
and then he's
Then
like,
it's
can I hook
dirty.
up with her? And he's like, go ahead, bro. Like, I
Well,
think
yeah.
guys are more okay with it. Girls would be like, why are you trying to hook up with him?
I can tell you straight up, not only would girls not be okay with it, but it would almost make you like that guy again. Like,
Yes,
you'd be like, wait a minute. Am I wrong?
You're
You'd be
right on that
Wait a
one.
minute. You're going to hook up. Wait a minute.
Did
And
I
you
miss
start
it?
thinking about all the good times. You start romanticizing him. You remember that one
like,
night.
oh, yeah,
that
he's
things went
tall.
real well. You could smell his cologne wafting up your nose again. You're like, wait a minute. And then you call that girl the next day and you're like, did you hook up with him? What happened? You want to know. And she's like, oh, yeah. We went out. We did X, Y, and Z. You're like, what exactly did you do with him? You want to know. Did they have the sex? You know it. Then if they did, you get off the phone, you call another friend, and you're like, I can't believe what Amy just said. Like, she slept with Sam, and Sam was like, listen, I'm over Sam. I'm over Sam. You know that. It's like, I don't want him anymore. But did she need to do that? And why did he do it? I mean, I'm over him, but I still I did go out with him. It's always going to be some feeling there. Did he just totally forget about it? What a douchebag. You go in that conversation from being back in love to hate to back in love. Women are complex creatures.
I think it's FOMO, that fear of missing out. And it's like you moved on, but then someone, they're like, can I hook up with him? And you're like, wait, did he get better? Like,
Yeah.
why do you want to hook up with him? When I was with him, I didn't even want to hook up with him.
Yeah.
Like, what's the new thing going on now? So I don't know.
And I'm going to tell you something. The friendship will be changed if that happens. I'm telling you, on either side, I think it's true for both, unless it's a situation like this and it was a girl that he didn't really care about. He was like, whatever, or she cheated on me, or like, I wasn't really into that, whatever. With girls, no matter what, that relationship will be changed if you ask your female friend if you can hook up with her ex. Things are different. The fact that you asked, you're not getting that best friend necklace again.
What about if you
Done.
can hook up with your ex's friend? Would that be something you would be opposed to?
if you hook up with your ex's
friend, so like you were dating a guy and then you met one of his friends and you broke up with that guy, and then the friend said, "Hey, I think you're cute. I want to take you out and hook up."
No. I just,
they call them homie hopping. That's what it's called.
I don't want to like have, you guys know Melrose Place? You're too young for that. Whatever. You know, TV show where they all like, you know how you watch television and you're like, wow, at some point you sit back, you're like, this is a great TV show. And then you're like, didn't all these people sleep together at one point? Like, what is going on? It's just like an orgy that I've been watching for the past 6 months that I thought was some romantic, you know, comedy. And now it's just like an orgy. You know it. I don't want to live that. I want it to be like, okay, if I hooked up with somebody in that circle, okay, now that guy's off limits for like the girls in that little circle. No, stay away from. There's like men out there.
But isn't that how you meet people naturally though? Like, hey, this is my friend Joe, and da da da. Like, no,
go meet people differently. I mean, I was not cool with that. But I do remember when I started dating my husband. He's younger than I am, and when I started dating him, his circle was like, it was like, oh yeah, in high school, like this one made out with this one, and this one also made out with this one, and this one also made out with this one, and he was like, and like his friends were like, oh yeah, that was high school though, and I'm like, I wasn't doing that, and did you study? Who had time? And in high school, if you did that when I was younger, it was like frowned upon a little bit. Yeah. Like it was like your, you know, it was like your guy, like that was like a thing because you weren't just making out with everybody. You were just like, it meant something. It was like a little, like it was cute, but it was like, no, your girlfriends, that was done. I even remember in high school, there were 2 girls that went out. Okay, there was a guy and a girl that went out and they became like a really cute couple. I went to an all-girls school. It was all girls, and then there was a boys' school that was like a brother school. And one of the guys from the brother school and one of the girls from our school were going out. And it was like super cute. Everybody was like, heart, 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 this, blah, blah, blah. Then they broke up. And that summer, another girl from our school who was kind of friends, like not best friends, but in that circle with the other girls started going out with him. Shit blew up. I mean, it was like, it was bad. It was really bad. It was like she had done her dirty. There were girls that wouldn't talk to her anymore. It was like, it was weird. It was uncomfortable. It was like, she was labeled a lot of things, a lot of bad words, I'm just going to say. And I remember that unfolding like this huge deal. Then I meet my husband X amount of years later. It's like, oh yeah, they're all sitting at the table, hanging out. It's like meantime, everybody's tongue's been down everybody's throat. And I'm like, this is the societal decay I'm talking about, people. Where's my DeLorean? Where's my DeLorean? Take me back. Okay, I've gone too far. Old people in the chat, you know I'm right. You know you're like, I would not survive this dating scene. Rolo's like, see, I told you. I'm like, no, Rolo, again, do better. Do better. Okay. All right, 2 more videos today. 2 are really good, too. Don't forget to subscribe every time you put it up. Don't forget to subscribe. You got to hit, we need some music that goes with that. You got to hit the like button. You got to subscribe. Listen, if you subscribe and like, it's more likely that we'll have a dance party one day. Ooh. Just be a disco ball, me. Maybe we can get Eric involved. Jorge's not here today. He can come out. Natalia, I know, is down for a little dancing, so we'll make it happen. I'm telling you, I'll do it. I'll do it with you. Mm-hmm. Don't test me. All right. Why every woman needs a man in her life. This is not the video that you think it is. You're going to be surprised. Let's take a listen. She talks very, very fast, so be prepared for that.
I think you may actually like her.
Who?
We actually had her on the Saucecast prior.
Oh, Allie. Interesting. Mm-hmm. I did not know that. Yes. Okay, awesome. So Saucecast viewers may remember. Let's take a listen. This is it. She's interesting because she says that she stays home. Her husband works. She takes a lot of heat from other women for that. But just take a listen to what she has to say about why every woman needs a man in her life.
Honestly, the reason why women say they don't need a man is so that they can look cool to their girlfriends. Like, you want to look impressive. You want to look like you can work in the world, because women judge other women the most. Like, I don't even think it's the patriarchy holding us down. I'm pretty sure it's the matriarchy. Like, all of the disdain that is, I get looked down upon for staying home and depending on my husband all the time. People call me lazy. People call me a gold digger. Women shouldn't put each other down in that way. Like, you're probably just mad that you have to work. Like, I would hate me too if I was in that situation. It's to look like you're valuable to your girlfriends. The thing about it is that girlfriends aren't real though. Like, we're all waiting to get picked up by some guy. So if your girlfriends figure out the game before you do, you're gonna be by yourself hanging out at the bar at 35. Like, that is a foolish plan. But But
It's like every time I watch one of these videos, it's like I start out in agreement and then it keeps going and I'm like, oh no. And then I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, no. And it's like, I just can't, I don't know what it is about it. But, okay. So a few things she says here that are true. Number one, women do judge the hell out of other women. I've worked in, I worked on The View. A lot of estrogen going on there. I also worked on a show at Fox that was all women. Women are tough on other women. In fact, some of the most, what's the word that I use here? Some of the most venomous bosses I've had have been female. There's a lot of competition in the air. There's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of focus on, people always think it's the guys that focus on the physical appearance of women. No one will criticize a woman like a woman. I mean, she will get down to the bobby pin in the back of your hair that is not in right. Guys won't even notice that. Guys don't notice 90% of what's wrong. I'll leave the house and I'll look at my husband and I'll be like, oh babe, you see how that little, he's like, what are you talking about? Girl will spot a zit on your face a mile away and be like, girlfriend didn't get that cream from CVS. You know it, Natalia, you know it.
It's true. Girls know how to criticize other girls very well because they deal with it. Yes. They get ready every day. They know the struggle. Your eyebrows are uneven. Ouch, that really hurt my feelings.
And they're mean. Girls can be very mean.
Yes.
So I'm not saying guys can't be mean. Of course, there's some guys. Girls telling you, man, the mean girls. You know that movie, Mean Girls? The mean girls and the adult mean girls, next level stuff. So they can be very mean, very, very mean to other women. So she's right about that. I don't think that women say they don't need a man because they're trying to impress their girlfriends, though. I think that line comes out of you coming out of a bad situation. Like when you say, I don't need a man, oftentimes it's because you just had one, you got burned, you were in a bad situation, and now you're in that I'm going to go out, I'm going to get my hair cut and colored, I'm going to put on an outfit, I'm going to go to the club, I'm going to feel like a rock star, screw him, I don't need him, blah, 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 I don't need a man. I think that's oftentimes where that comes out of. I don't know any women that sit around and say, I don't need a man because they want their girlfriends to pat them on the back. I think it's more like, I don't need a man because you've just been through it. And now you want to be you're going through the emotions, the feels, as we call them. You break up with somebody, it's never easy for a woman. You always got the nostalgia. You've got the I hate him, but I still love him. You've got the do I get back with him? All of a sudden, everything he ever did that was bad doesn't seem as bad. And all the stuff he ever did that was good seems like he was like the guy from The Notebook. The romantic music plays way too often in the background. We're staring out the car window, tossing our hair. I mean, we do it. Let's own it. We do it. Very complex creatures, as I say. But I think it's like you come out of that and you want to you're like, no, I need to hate him right now. I need to hate him. That's where I need to be. So I don't need a man. It's a lot of that, I think. If we're being honest, we've got to be honest. Mm-hmm. The thing that bothered me that she says, see, she's got me, right? And I'm like, yeah, woohoo, yeah, I'm rooting for her. And then she said, girlfriends aren't real. I don't think that's true. I think there's circumstances where girls have a pack of girlfriends that are their sisterhood. That exists. I have my two best friends. I have one girl and I have one guy. The girl, I've known her since the 6th grade. She's my sister. I don't have an actual sister, so she's my sister. And there's nothing I don't tell her. I tell her too much. Sometimes she's Jed, man. I tell her everything. She's seen it all. Let's just say that. Heard it all. And I love that. So the idea that girlfriends aren't real, we're all waiting to be picked up by some guy.
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say we're waiting to be picked up, but essentially we're working on ourselves so that we're able to have somebody valuable enough in our eyes to not pick us up but choose us of other women out there. I
think that would have been a better way to say the way this read to me is a bunch of girls are supposedly friends hanging out at the club, but they're not really real friends. They're all waiting to see who the guy's going to pick, and that's the sole motivation. I don't
also when you go out to the club or go out, essentially when men look at girls, they look at their group of girls because they're okay, well, pretty girls hang around pretty girls. You don't see pretty girls around so essentially when men, when you are going out like with a whole bunch of girls, you are like, I can see why there would be like, yeah, we're friends, but not really, because we're all looking for the top tier guy in the room. So that's why like I have 2 friends too. I only got 2 friends. I don't have no pack of friends. I'm like, oh man, too many pack of friends get you in trouble. So
that's true.
It's
keep the circle small.
Mm-hmm.
Good advice.
Yes.
Good advice. Keep the circle small. Yeah, I guess that could apply if it's like more acquaintancy, like people you hang out with, as opposed to like a real friend.
Exactly.
So maybe a little caveat there would have helped. But I actually don't think, I mean, listen, I do think a lot of girls are looking for, this is another thing with the language that bugs me. I think there are a lot of women, you want to find your partner, right? Most people want to find their partner, if you're being honest. So I think you are out and you're like, you got your eye open and you're hoping that you're going to make a good match. And you're looking to see, oftentimes you want the guy to come up to you, right? So you want that guy, that right guy, to kind of like, you scan the room, you're looking around, and you want them to come over to you. Because you're looking for something, you want to make something happen. That's a different way than saying we're all waiting to be picked up by some guy. Do you see what I'm just saying with the language even? Because she makes great points here. This girl is going to turn off a lot of women with this language, because now they're going to get defensive, right? They're going to get defensive. There are women out there that are programmed to get defensive, right? They just are. They've got the feminist talking points in their head, like rattling them all day long. Maybe they would talk down to at one point. Whatever the situation in their past was, they are like vulnerable to that defense, like hit a button and like, rawr. They're going to come back and be like, don't tell me I'm just here waiting for some man. Don't make it like it's all about the man's decision. What if I want to go to him? Those same women, of course, if you say, well, do you go to him? They'll say, well, no, I'm not going to go to him. I got to wait for him to come. What kind of man's going to make me go to him? It's craziness. It's all crazy. Bottom line, just, think about how you say stuff. If you're concerned about bringing more people into the loop, if you're not, more power to her. I think it's great that she found a situation that, I'm not hating on her at all. It's, she's not working. She probably didn't want to. She is working though. She's doing a channel. So that's hard work too. She's not like just sitting at home sunbathing. She's putting her opinion out there. It's not easy to put your opinion out there because somebody's always waiting to shit on it. We know that. Putting her opinion on there. So she's doing something she likes. And what she's basically saying is she doesn't have to worry about the money because someone else is in that department. More power to you, man. If that's what you want, you got to be, women, if you're picking on girls like that, let me just tell you, you're insecure. You're insecure about your situation. She's got something you want. She's right. You're mad that you don't have it. And you're also mad because you don't want her to have it because you want the line to be, we don't need it because you don't have it.
Ooh, that was fire. Drop the bomb right there.
Ooh, I do that every now and then. Yes. All right, we're almost done. Last topic of the day. Today I was like, I won't have enough to talk about. I get here and it's 2:22. All right, last one. It's only offensive when men, this is fantastic. I'm just going to let it play. This is Kevin Samuels.
Can say, I don't want no scrubs. People can say, if he can't buy you a Birkin bag, kick him to the curb. But if I just happen to say that you weigh more than men at your height, that's offensive. When did we become that world?
He's right. He's right. Why is it that women can pick on men and they do? Oh, you're this, you're fat, or he's a little, I don't know. He's balding. He's going to go bald. Oh, I don't know. His nose hair is, he dresses like it's, 1960? The things women say, they're not nice. Men have to just absorb that stuff a lot of times, right? Because they're supposed to be like, oh, tough guy. You're not going to go off and cry. So women just spew criticism, right? You know it. But if the guy turns around, if you say to him before you leave the house, does this make me look fat? He's got to say no, even if you got that jelly donut belly hanging over the jeans. You know it, with the little belly button in between. You know it, right? He's got to say no, or he gets punished, or you know what happens? Tears. You run into the next room. There's a fit. There's rage. You don't wind up going out. He's got to suffer and figure out a gift to buy you to compensate for what was probably the truth. So then people say to guys, don't tell women the truth. Lie. No. Grow a backbone. If you ask somebody a question, expect an answer. You got to be able to take it if you can dish it. So this stuff, he's right about this, ladies. He's right. So if you got to be able to take it. If you want that dynamic, then you got to be able for him to say like, hey, you're too slutty on your Instagram. Maybe you are. oh, you can say to him X, Y, and Z about his physique or his hair, or, oh, you know it. You see it all the time. Oh, did you get your hair cut? And the guy's like, yeah. You did? And he's like, yeah. And you're like, maybe you should like try a different guy. Reverse that. You went and got your hair cut, and he says to you, did you get your hair cut? And you're like, yeah. And he's like, you did? And you're like, yeah. And he's like, maybe you should try a different guy. Let that sit for a second, though. Absorb it, because women say it with ease, and they expect guys to just be resilient. And you know what? Sometimes you may hurt a feeling or two because it's mean what you're saying. But if they throw it back at you, suddenly you're like, he was disrespectful to me. You call your friend, you talk about it, you dissect him. You got to find another man. He can't talk to you like that. Meantime, you don't analyze the way you're talking to him. So I'm just saying, if you're willing to put it out there and you're willing to be critical, you better be able to take criticism. And if you ask a question, I'm sorry, ladies, if you ask the question, do I look fat? You should be prepared for an answer. I always tell my husband, you tell me, my hair looks crazy. And sometimes he'll say, Jed, hair looks a little crazy today. And I'll be like, I know, I was going for crazy. And he's like, okay, just letting you know. But I welcome it. I'll say to him, did that look weird to you? And he'll be like, yeah, I like that better than that. I don't like that look. He's very like blunt with me. I want it. And I tell him, if he goes for a haircut and they cut his hair, I like crazy hair in a man. I like you to look like a wildebeest, like you're just like
same.
A mess.
Me too.
I don't want you, if you're shaven.
I like hair,
I don't want a shaven, I don't want clean cut anything. I told you, you got to look like you rolled out from under a car. You fix something. Your clothes are a little dirty. There's a little bit going on here. The hair looks like it needs a haircut. My husband has great hair, too. Great hair on a guy is nice.
Yes.
So I'm always like, with it. But, I like a messy guy. I don't even know where I was going with this. I got so heated and excited about the messy guy. Talk about a messy man. It gets me heated. I don't even know what I was talking about. I'm telling you, man. Also in the chat, we're going to get to the chat now. I'm curious, ladies. Do you like a
before? Rest in peace, Kevin Samuels.
Yes, rest in peace, Kevin.
Just die.
Yes, he did. When was it? I just looked at the date. It's in 2022.
Yeah,
November, I believe
July
it was.
July 19th.
Yeah, rest in peace, Kevin. A lot of great content from Kevin Samuels. You don't have to agree with all of it. I happen to agree this one. Some I do agree, disagree, but someone who was really willing to put out on the table how he felt in the midst of a very controversial time. So definitely worth checking out that content. I love a strong, impassioned human. I love it. And had a positive effect on a lot of people's lives. A lot of people looked up to him and felt that he made their lives better. So we're going to get to the chat now. And ladies, also let me know if you're in the chat. Like, do you like a clean-cut man or a little rugged? Just curious. Is it just me that really... I feel like I need a fan in here now after talking about the rugged man. Okay. Natalia, what do we have?
So let's see some chats we have. I actually wanted to just give a few shout outs to consistently. We had 3 people who have been consistently throughout the chat. We had Robert giving out some feedback. He's just been commenting back and forth with you. I've seen him consistent even on the other podcasts you have. So shout out to Robert. We also had Kyle Lopez. He was commenting back and forth with you as well. And then Wyatt Borden, who's also commenting back and forth. But we can answer Robert. He said, why wouldn't someone want to actually know if they look bad? Like, why wouldn't somebody, like, the people who are like, don't want men to say those things, like, why do you think people are like that?
There's people that just, I think, feel insecure, and they're asking you a question so that they can, like, elicit the positive answer they've demanded. So it's like, they know that if you say something bad, like, that you're not going to say something bad. Like, you've been trained, in other words, to not say something bad. And it's like, they feel a little insecure. So they want that pat of like, no, you look great. You look gorgeous. You look fantastic. Like, they don't want to know the flaw because they're already a little insecure about something. Usually when a female is asking you, it's because there's something about their look that's bothering them. Like, if I get dressed and I'm like...
Tell them, Jed.
There's something.
Tell the men out there why we really ask. How do we look?
It's true, though. Like, there's something, Bob. Like, if I get all dressed, ready to leave the house... And I'm one of those people that, like, when I say I dress for me, I look in the mirror. If I like it and I'm good, I'm good. If I don't like it, though, I'll go to my husband and be like, what do you think? And he'll look, and he's guys don't always see what we see, but it's usually because there's something bothering me. Like, I don't know, I got this, my belly looks kind of like a bulge right now. Do you see it? But I don't want to say it. I want him to say, I want to see if you notice what I see. Or like, I don't know, man. I know like the booty is in, but is it this in? Like, is this too much?
But they lie. They lie. When, like they see like you have a zit on your forehead, and they're like, no, your makeup covered it. You don't see any. Like they will lie to you.
Best at that. The other day, 2 weeks ago, I put on a mask. I'm into like skincare. I've had a zit on my
you have great skin.
2 weeks. I've had a zit. I'm just a dermatologist out there. Please help me. How do you get rid of a zit? I'm not like one to break out a lot, but this zit is stubborn. Anyway, I had a mask on the other day, and I come out. I put it on for 5 minutes, and I come out, and I'm red, like red blotches everywhere. And I walk out, and Jeremy's just like he's just looking at me like, he didn't say anything though, and he's just like, what do you want to eat? I said, Jeremy, look at my face. And he's like, oh, did you do a mask? And I'm like, you know what? I will leave here right now. You need to say, babe, what did you do? Your face is on fire. Shit, what did you know, what happened? I was like, I can't trust you if this is the dynamic. I cannot trust you. And I am always like, because, I had a baby 2.5 years ago, and the thing that's weird that happens in the female body, let me talk about my body because I don't know if this happens for every woman, but you get a little, I didn't have stretch marks, but I got though because I was very small and I was all stomach pregnant. Go back on my Instagram and look at pictures of me pregnant. It was like, there were like 6 kids in there. I was skinny. I only gained I gained less than 20 pounds, but it was all belly. So my skin stretched a little bit. And I'm conscious of that because I didn't have that before. So I'm always like, babe, see this little, and he's just like, pfft. But I'm like, you need to take note of this and be honest because we don't trust them.
Yeah.
We don't trust them.
But do you want your man to be like, hey, I see your extra skin hanging out? Like,
I would want him to be like, babe, if it doesn't.
But I don't know.
him,
I think I would be sad. I'd be like, oh my God, you can see my
I would be sad. I'd be like, babe, you can see it. Where is it? What is it? He likes the little squeeze.
But what if you're in like a mood? You're in like you're like in a rush to go, and you're still not feeling your fit, and you're looking for a response of like, okay, fix this.
I think I really crave knowing what really bothers him. I believe him. That doesn't bother. He doesn't even see it.
Yeah.
But is there something you see that, I worry that, is there something he sees that he doesn't like that he wouldn't share?
Have you ever asked him, hey, what's something that turns you off I do?
He says no. And I'm like, I don't know if I believe. It's the one thing in my marriage that I'm like, I don't know if I 100% believe you.
I think we're going to have to bring him on.
Wired to just, part of them is wired because they want to make you feel good all the time. And the other part is wired that they just don't notice all the shit we notice.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's weird. It's like, I just want him to be honest. I did ask. I said, I do that little bun. Mm-hmm. Did you see the bun?
Your bun.
He likes my hair down best. I know, but I'm always like, I did a little bun. And he did say, he was like, I like this little bun more than this little bun down here. I have one down here that I do. And I was like, yeah, I agree with you. But I was like, oh, good. He shared that, Yeah. It's not to say I'm not going to wear the bun down here sometimes, because sometimes I like to look like a little librarian because I look in the mirror. That's the mood I'm feeling for the day. But I do appreciate that he was on. I was like, oh, I love honesty. I just love it. I'd rather know. I asked the guys on the show. They know. I'm like, if I'm doing something crazy, you come in here and tell me. I'm going to tell a story. They're all going to hate me for this. Y'all ready? Chris is going to be listening to this and be like, oh, Jed. One day I was in here. I had spit. I'm not going to lie to tell you this happened. I'm telling the story. I had spit on my own bottom lip. You got to go back and look at the video. It's freaking hilarious. I had spit, and I had a thick, it's from True Botanicals. It's not a gloss, but it feels like a gloss on. And there was spit down here that sat on my lip for 5-10 minutes. Do you know that none of the guys at the show told me? Tyler was sitting here. Tyler, if you were listening to this, by the way, I told you I was going to expose you, and I am.
Uh-oh.
Tyler was sitting here, didn't tell me. Jorge was sitting here, didn't tell me. Chris was sitting in the other room, didn't tell me. Eric, I'm not going to involve you because I don't know if you were complicit. And
they said, you look great, Jed.
No one said anything. They couldn't figure out, do we say it? Do we not say it? I walked out of here and I was like, guys, you have to say it. You have to say it. I want you to, on air, make a joke and say, girl,
or just do a little, hey.
Either like this. Now, I know, and I said it to everybody. I said, a woman in the room, she would have been like, I got to tell her.
Yes.
You would have told me.
I'd be like, yo, Jed.
Yeah, just go like this or something. Or if it were me, got to be lucky it's not flipped around, because I would have been like, girl, you got spit on your lip. Wipe your mouth. Didn't your mama teach you to check your lips? You know, I would have made some joke about it, but I welcome it. Like, you guys think I'm not serious, but I actually, like, my mama always tells me I made you too secure because
Tyler said sorry. He said sorry. Tyler did. Tyler said sorry.
You know what, Tyler? I know you're listening. I told you I was going to get you, and I am. Tyler will be back. Don't worry for those who missed Tyler, and everybody's got their fan faves. Tyler will be back.
They missed the simp Tyler. That's what they said.
Yeah, he'll be back. Don't worry. And you know what? He's going to come in here mad probably because I told you I was going to expose you, old boys.
This is why you got to be here.
Audience, by the way, if I ever spit on my lip and you're in the chat, please just be like, girl, wipe your mouth. Because I know if Natalia's not here, who knows when I'll find out. I didn't find out till they started cutting clips. And I'm like, what's that? Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here today. Natalia, thank you as always.
Thank you.
I apologize for any tech glitches that lasted for that one video. It wasn't that good anyway. Don't worry. We got it back up for the good videos. Don't forget to subscribe, to hit like. We've got, I think, 5 guests that are pre-booked that will be coming in. Some of them will be remote. Some of them will be in person, but we're excited. Also, don't forget, tell me, who do you want to hear from? You can tweet at me at Jedediah Bila. You can send me an Instagram message. You can say it in the chat. Wherever you'd like to send me. I want to know who you want me to sit down here with and do a shoot the shit with. And I want to know who you want to hear from in a more... We have 2 segments. We have a shoot the shit, which is what we've been doing. And then we have what we call the hot seat. That is an interview segment that's less of me doing this and that, and more of me asking questions and eliciting responses. Also, remember, guys, when you say you don't like me interrupting, a shoot the shit is not an interview. So don't get them confused. Shoot the shit is supposed to be like, it's like, that's the vibe of it. So you'll see a very different approach if I have a hot seat interview and I ask a question and then there's a longer response. Different style. So don't be a hater, just saying. All right, happy Friday, everyone. Go get some Italian food. I'm up for some... I don't eat cheese. This is a problem because I am feeling a chicken parm. But I don't eat the dairy, you know. We'll have to figure out some type of modification for today. Anyway, have a great Friday, and we will see you back here Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a good weekend. Have something to share. Go do something crazy that you can share in the chat. Talk to you soon. Bye.